number 10 on our list, let me give you guys some background information on this haunted house. The Riddle House is located in Palm Beach County in Florida. The house used to be a funeral parlor, so I'm sure a lot of creepy things went down inside of this house. But that's not even the scary part. One of the former employees committed suicide by hanging himself in the attic, and according to all of the reports, anytime a man steps foot in the attic, his spirits will attack them. One man had an object thrown at his head, so now men are no longer allowed to go inside of the attic. I mean, I wouldn't want to step foot inside of that attic anyway, so you know what, whatever. If that wasn't enough, legend has it that the entire house is haunted, and if you go inside of it, a spirit might follow you home and haunt your house as well. I mean, yeah, no thanks, I don't want to be haunted, I don't want my house to be haunted. I want to go to my home and just be curse free and be ghost free as well. The Queen Mary sails onto our list at number 9. The Queen Mary has been voted one of the most haunted places in America, and this is by Time magazine. And after doing my research, it's easy to see why. There are countless stories of many areas of the ship that are haunted with ghosts. Visitors claim that the engine room is haunted by the ghost of a crew member who was crushed to death by a watertight door. The swimming pool is also a highly talked about area as well. People say that they can see spirits at the bottom of the pool, and they are just waiting to pull someone under the water and drown them to death. If that wasn't enough, you can go on a paranormal tours of the ship, but be warned, there is a curse. It is said that each year during one of these tours, at least one guest will break a bone while on board. The Shanghai tunnels in Portland, Oregon makes their way onto this list at number 8. Did you guys know that in the 19th century, Portland was considered to be one of the most dangerous parts of America? It was primarily due to a form of human trafficking called Shanghaiing. According to the legend, con artists would prey on unsuspecting young men, and they would lure them into trapdoors. The victim would then be fed into a network of underground tunnels where they would be drugged, held captive, and eventually sold to ships as slaves. Hundreds of years later, these tunnels are still intact, and it is believed that if you find yourself down there, you will be extremely confused, unable to find yourself back to the surface. You will have hallucinations, and you'll also have a ton of angry spirits who will hold you down to the point where you feel like you can't breathe. I say, if it was up to me, we fill these tunnels up with dirt and call it a day. The Banff Springs Hotel checks onto this list at number 7. This hotel was built in 1888 by the Canadian Pacific Railway. Despite its picturesque view, this hotel is plagued with angry spirits that will make your night a living hell. Some of the strange things that happened here was when a family was brutally murdered in room 873, a bride died while falling down the hotel's marble staircase, and a retired bellman apparently still haunts this hotel even to this day. But the fun doesn't stop there. The hotel has a room that is known as the Phantom Room. There was an error in the building plans which resulted in this extra room being built. It doesn't have any windows, and no one knew that it existed except for the builders. But years later, during a renovation, the room is discovered and it was converted into a working room. But apparently this room is cursed. It is full of unusual sounds, strange shadows, and you will feel extremely uneasy if you go inside. Leap Castle brings us to number 6. This is probably one of Ireland's most haunted destinations due to its dark history. One of the most gruesome murders that took place in the castle occurred in 1532 in a room that is known as the Bloody Chapel. A priest was murdered in this room in front of his entire family. The castle is now rumored to be haunted by a ton of spirits, including a violent hunched beast known as Elemental. If you find yourself inside of this castle, you'll know that he is near because you can smell rotting flesh and sulfur, and when the castle was being renovated, workers found a dungeon that is only accessible through the ceiling hatch. I mean, how weird is that? It is believed that prisoners were thrown inside, forgotten, and left there to die. The dungeon also has a bunch of human remains and was full of spikes that were used to impale the prisoners who were thrown there to their death. Sounds like a great tourist destination, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Flight 191 takes us to number 5. We're now talking about a cursed airplane number. If you ever find yourself booking a trip, pay close attention to your flight number. Is it flight 191? You might want to consider changing your flight, and I'll tell you why. This flight has a higher than normal amount of crashes. There has been 4 commercial flights with this flight number, and they have all crashed. Another flight had an incident on board that caused the plane to divert from the flight plan. On an American Airlines flight, the plane crashed shortly after taking off in Chicago, and it killed 273 people on board. A Delta Airlines flight crashed while landing, and it killed 137 people, and a Comair flight crashed on takeoff, killing 49 people. There are a bunch of other airlines with flight numbers 191 that crashed, but I think you get the point. The San Fernando Cathedral, San Antonio, Texas jumps onto our list at number 4. We have another cursed cathedral on this list. This church was built in 1868 and it is thought to be the oldest church in Texas. Well, according to the local report, this church is plagued with angry spirits and demonic forces. People have seen hooded ghosts in monks' clothing roaming the halls on a regular basis. Or they'll also see a man dressed in black who stalks you as you explore the church. And yes, the church is still open for business. So if you're brave enough, you can attend a service. That's if you dare. I don't dare. Personally, I'm not really that big into angry spirits following me around, but that might just be me. Number 3, we have King Tut's tomb. When this tomb was discovered on November 26, 1922, people believe that the pharaoh unleashed a powerful curse of death and destruction upon those who entered his tomb. I'd be pretty pissed too if I was untouched for 3,000 years and then all of a sudden there are a ton of people entering my tomb with tools and some lights. But let's explore this curse even further. The man who paid for the excavation of King Tut's tomb was the first one to be hit with the curse. While shaving, he accidentally tore open a mosquito bite, which caused him to die due to blood poisoning. The archaeologist who discovered the tomb gave his friend a paperweight as a gift. The paperweight was made out of a mummified hand and it had some weird thing inscribed onto it. Well, after receiving this weird gift, his house burned down, and when he tried to rebuild it, it was hit with a massive flood. A man who visited the tomb became extremely ill and he never really recovered. He died of pneumonia a few months later. There are a bunch of other unfortunate people who have mysteriously died after visiting this tomb, so I know one thing that is for certain. You'll never see me around this tomb. I'll be much more comfortable watching the footage on YouTube or something like that, or maybe just googling an image of what the guy looks like. Moving up on this list, number 2, we have the 600 rooms in the Cecil Hotel. You're probably really familiar with this hotel due to its dark history. It's said that all 600 rooms of the Cecil Hotel are cursed due to the murders, maniacs, and ghosts that roam inside. A bunch of serial killers used to call this hotel their home, maybe because they all felt a strange affinity to it. And over the years, a lot of guests have mysteriously died without any reasonable explanations. One of the most mysterious deaths was Alyssa Lamb. Her body was found 2 weeks after her death when people were complaining about the water tasting weird. Her body was decomposing in the rooftop water tanks for weeks. The discovery of her body led investigators to watch the surveillance footage. They saw Alyssa go onto the elevator alone, then look outside the door several times. She left the elevator and it looked like she was having a conversation with someone who wasn't really there. And that was the last time she was seen alive. And finally, number 1, we have the Warren Occult Museum. If you know what's good for you, you'll never visit this museum, although I'm a little bit curious, but I would be pretty terrified inside of it. It is full of items that Ed and Lorraine Warren have collected over the years from their paranormal investigations. One of the most cursed items that sits inside of these walls is the Annabelle doll. I mean, everyone knows by now. She was responsible for at least one death when a young man came into the museum and challenged the doll to do its worst, and guess what? It did. Another cursed item at the museum is the shadow doll. This doll is said to be able to visit you in your dreams, and she has the ability to stop your heart. I mean, yeah, no thanks. And you know what? My curiosity is over. I no longer want to go visit this museum. Secret room behind a bookshelf brings us to number 10. I know what you guys must be thinking. This has to be a hoax, right? Wrong. This stuff actually happens in real life, believe it or not. And maybe you have a secret room in your house that's waiting to be discovered. So right now, go around your house, start breaking down walls. Okay, maybe not. Okay, let's get back into this. We have 2 brothers who are playing around in one of the rooms in their house when the little brother ran into the bookshelf and it opened up and it actually led them to a secret spiral staircase that led to another secret crawl space. Sounds cool, right? Well, think again. A stranger was apparently living living in this room, and that's not all. That's not where this ends. The stranger must have snuck around the house and stolen items from them, because there was empty wrappers from Halloween candy that was taken from one of the boys' rooms. Could you imagine having a creeper living in your house, tiptoeing around, maybe, you know, watching you as you sleep? Creepy religious room is in at number 9 on our list. A family made a shocking discovery when they decided to find out what was hiding underneath a large metal grate that was in the middle of their hallway. After removing the crate, they found a hole that was just big enough for them to squeeze through. I'm pretty sure a small hole in the ground would be enough for me to not squeeze through it, but for me to, you know, walk away. But not for this family for some reason. Once they made it down the creepy shaft, they were in a small pitch black cellar that looked like it could have been a chapel. In the middle of the room, there was an old wooden cross that was slowly rotting away, and there were also hooks hanging from the ceiling, which could have been used to hang a meat. So yeah, I'm naturally confused here. Was this a secret chapel, or maybe was it a kill room? I have no desire to find out what really went on in this cellar, so you know what? I think it's time that we move on. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's see what we have next. And well, we're at number 8 right now. Number 8, behind the walls. A family decided to put an offer on their dream home in Pennsylvania after the home inspection proved that it was a solid house. But the home inspector missed one huge detail. He failed to look at the walls and the strange thing that was hiding inside of them. The family wanted to add better insulation into one of the rooms, so they opened up the walls and they found a dark secret. They found some Old Spice cans and newspapers that dated back to like 30s or 40s, but that's not where the weird part of the story is. Those newspapers were covering bones from animal corpses. After they tore up the rest of the walls, the smell became unbearable, and the more they tried to fix it, the worse that it actually got. The family got very sick from the dead animals inside of their house, and they had to spend thousands of dollars trying to get rid of the animal bones. I mean, what happened and who put these bones in the wall? World War II hidden room comes in at number 7. A Reddit user from Norway posted some pretty disturbing pictures of a hidden room that he discovered in the attic of his house. Apparently his landlord told him that the house had a hidden room, but he was extremely vague on, you know, where it was. So instead of working or being productive, the renter thought that it would be a good idea to go exploring, be Dora the Explorer. Well, he accidentally found the room when he kicked a wall in the attic. And inside of this dark secret room was a sign that read, "If you have a bad stomach, then you don't have access." I mean, what the heck does that mean? I don't have a good stomach. I'd get the heck out of there. Why do I need a strong stomach? What is about to happen? Was he about to die? There was also a lamp alarm that was used to warn people nearby when someone came into the room, and there was an old map of Western Europe. Oh, and also they found an old doll shoe that looked like it came straight out of a horror movie. I'd say you're better off boarding up that wall and forgetting this wall or this experience ever existed. The real-life Dexter room slices its way into number 6. A man was extremely surprised when he discovered a small passageway in his attic that was blocked by a locked door. Locked doors for me mean I'm not going to enter. It means I'm not that curious. Well, obviously this made this person curious, and he decided to burst open the padlock to see what was hiding behind this door. Why do people do this? Well, he probably should have called his realtor and put the house back on the market, because what he found was actually pretty terrifying. Once he crawled through the tiny space, busted open the lock, and opened the door, he found a soundproofed room covered in plastic with a platform in the middle and a suitcase. I can only imagine what went on in this room. Inside of the suitcase there was jewelry and several black tapes that had "No, no, no" and "Save yourself" written on them. He handed the tapes over to the police, and I guess we'll never know what are on those tapes, but I'm sure we can all take a few wild guesses. Maybe this was the real life Dexter house. And I'm not talking about Dexter, what is it called, Dexter's Laboratory. I'm not talking about it was his house. I'm talking about the guy that murdered people. Peephole staircase brings us to number 5. Two people were house hunting when they stumbled across this extremely terrifying discovery. They made their way down a flight of rickety old stairs into the basement, and they were pretty disturbed. Behind the stairs, they found an area that looked like it was being used as a bedroom, of some sort. On the back of the stairs, there were creepy and disturbing messages written on the walls. Some of the notes said, "No watching Isaiah through the hole," and "Stop watching me," and also, Is this real life right now? Okay, that's something that I would write on the wall. I don't think they saw that on the wall. If they did, that's pretty cool. Well, what's going on here? When they looked even closer, they saw that there were small peepholes carved out of the stairs, so whoever was locked away in this room was able to see out. This is way too sinister for me, and I just want to forget the existence of this, so let's move on. A secret roommate jumps onto our list at number 4. A secret roommate? Well, a group of students from Ohio made a shocking discovery when they found out that a man had been living in a secret room in their house, and you know what? He wasn't even paying rent. Well, that's probably one of the scariest things that could happen to you when you move into a new home. Make sure the new home is empty first. At first, the students thought that they were being haunted by a ghost because their cupboards were always left open and they heard strange noises. But as it turns out, the ghost was actually a real person, and the truth was way more terrifying. After they extensively searched the house, they discovered a room in the basement behind a door that led to a secret room. Inside, they found a double bed, a student's textbooks, and pictures. I guess college is really expensive because this guy was living rent-free for a very long time. The student quickly changed the locks and left a note for their unwanted roommate, telling him that he couldn't live there anymore. If it was me, I'd probably leave a note saying $800, please. And then you can stay in that secret room and I won't tell anybody. We don't have to get the police involved. A terrifying hideout takes us to number 3. An HVAC worker was doing some renovations on a house when he suddenly discovered a secret room in the attic of the garage. He realized that a piece of the wall didn't look like it belonged. So he pushed on it, which turned out to be a hidden room. Inside, there were air vents, stained wood walls, carpeted floors, cable hookups, electrical outlets, and even a makeshift bathroom. There were some personal items thrown around the room and 2 license plates hung on the wall. At first he thought that someone was kept against their will, but the lock was on the inside, not the outside. So that takes that theory out the window. So this room was meant to keep people out. I don't know what is more terrifying. Well, as it turns out, this house used to belong to a man named RJ and his mother Dee Moore, also known as the Lottery Killer. She was convicted of murdering a man who won the lottery back in 2012. So maybe this is her secret room that she wanted to use to hide from the police. Number 2, the secret prison cell. Christian Perez has been working as a home inspector in Tampa, Florida for many years. And during his career, he has stumbled across lots of secret and hidden rooms. But he will never forget what he found years ago during one of his inspections. Whenever he thinks about it, he still gets the chills down his spine. He found a small dark room that was tucked behind a wall in the attic. It had a small bed, a strange map of a city, and also tons of empty food cans, so clearly someone's been living there. The homeowners who had been living in the house for the past 25 years, well, they said that they never even knew that this room existed. So could it be plausible that someone lived there for the past 25 years? During an investigation, no one was able to come up with a definitive answer for what this room was used for. But they speculate that someone might have been held captive there. And this is why you should always have a home inspection before buying. And I'm thinking we go one small step forward, and anytime you buy a house, I think you should just gut it. The Murder Castle tops this list at number 1. One of the most notorious buildings that was full of secret rooms was the Chicago Murder Castle, which was designed by the infamous serial killer H.H. Holmes. The entire building was posed as a hotel, but in reality, it was a maze full of secret kill rooms with winding passageways, trapdoors, chutes, and dungeons that was full of acid vats and other torturous devices. When it was being built, he hired construction workers, and then he killed them so no one had any idea what was going on. He killed the people that designed the room, so now no one knows about it. The building had its very own crematorium so that he can use to, dispose of his victims' bodies in secret. This has to be one of the most scariest things I've ever heard of. I wonder if there are other buildings like this in the world, and I'm willing to say that there probably are. I mean, this guy probably inspired a lot of other people, which is crazy to say.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Fritzl Guest House. Joseph Fritzl was an abominable man, of that we know. In 2008, Fritzl's House of Horrors was discovered. Now, Joseph Fritzl and his wife Rosemarie actually used to run a guest house in the town of Untracht in Mondsee in Austria. That was before they moved to Amstetten, where his House of Horrors was later discovered. As you may know, Fritzl had been keeping his daughter imprisoned in the basement of his home in a secret room hidden from view. Eventually, Elizabeth managed to break free after 24 years, may I add. The Fritzl house, in which the horrid man imprisoned his daughter in a locked room, was eventually remodeled with the secret cell removed. However, it seems that the story wasn't over. In 2017, another secret room was discovered in Fritzl's old guest house. It seems that contractors working on the property, once owned by the convict, found a staircase behind an improvised wall leading to a secret room. This seems to indicate that the predator may have imprisoned more victims in the past that police didn't know about. Coming into number 9, we have an ancient chapel. To me, this absolutely looks like a cursed room. I'm straight up calling old, hidden, satanic place of worship here, but maybe I'm just being a bit dramatic. Take a look at this. Now, for me, from the outside, this looks like a normal detached house in the UK. The house is in Telford and it's around 230 years old, which I know sounds old to a lot of you watching, but really, for the UK, isn't that old? Owners Pat and Diane Furler suspected it may have once been a pub. It looks like it could have been. One day they decided to investigate a metal grill in their floor, but they definitely wish they hadn't. They broke through below the grill and found, well actually, let me show you some pictures. They found a totally eerie stone chamber that looked like an old chapel. It even had a crucifix on the floor. On the floor! They then found that there was a staircase leading to a cupboard in another area of their house, which to me is super weird and super freaky. Why on earth would someone be praying in secret? Also, the way the cross looks on the floor, to me, is absolutely cursed. 10 out of 10 cursed. Coming into number 8, we have the missing Amber Room. The whereabouts of the Amber Room remain a mystery to this day. Once a priceless art piece belonging to the Tsars of the Russian Empire, the Amber Room was dismantled and hidden during World War II. As you likely know, in World War II, Germany invaded Russia, and the whole thing led to one of the biggest death tolls in the history of warfare. But before the Germans came, the Russians knew that they were coming, they knew that they were screwed, and they started hiding their treasures. The Amber Room, once considered the 8th wonder of the world, was a whole room made up of old Russian money. Likely old Russian blood money, if we're totally honest. Either way, they wanted to hide the room. They didn't want the Germans getting their hands on it. To this day though, it's actually never been found, although it has been reconstructed. There's a brand new Amber Room, but not the original. So I'm wondering, do we even want to know where Russians hide stuff? Because probably not. Coming in at number 7, we have Down the Rabbit Hole. Okay, here's the headline for you. Rabbit hole leads to hidden caves of the Knights Templar. What? The Knights Templar, for those of you that don't know, were a secret religious order who fought the Crusaders between the 12th and 14th centuries. In March 2017, a rabbit hole in a farmer's field was explored to reveal an ancient cave. Explorer Michael Scott found the historic wonder and said it was deathly silent in the caves. I can only imagine the horrendous stuff that went on down there, honestly. It's so freaky! Look at these pictures! Coming in at number 6, we have Walt Disney's Haunted Bedroom. Disneyland California was the OG Disney theme park. Opened in 1955, Walt Disney had several secret rooms built in the theme park, including a princess apartment in Sleeping Beauty's castle, the mysterious and elusive Club 33, and his very own apartment above the fire station on Main Street, which is kind of near the park entrance. It seems that ever since Walt Disney's passing in 1966, his old room has been haunted by his spirit. Now, according to Disney legend, a cleaner was tidying up his apartment only to notice a lamp was lit by the window, which was very strange because it had been unoccupied for some time. She then turned it off and went about her job. She was shocked to notice that the lamp had flickered back on by itself. She turned it off once more, only to see the lamp fire up again before her very eyes. Since that day, nobody has ever tried to turn the lamp off, and it is kept burning as a symbol of Walt's spirit living on in the park. Coming into number 5, we have this secret dungeon. When a video pops up in your YouTube recommendations with the title, "Moved into a new apartment," warning, secret dungeon, you just have to click it because, of course you do, right? We're not idiots, we need to see this. I need to see the secret dungeon. So the description is pretty juicy. It reads, "Earlier this week I moved into a one-bed studio apartment in England. I'd never seen the place before, I paid my deposit, and after I moved in, I noticed a strange hatch in the floor. It's an old converted 19th century monastery, so I thought there might be something interesting." As as it turns out, we have a dungeon. It's every badly written horror movie happening in real life. Here's a video tour I made tonight. Whew, like I said, juicy. Okay, so let's skip the beginning of the tour. I'll give you the highlights just so you know. So, the lad is living in a small ground floor apartment, old building, high ceilings, old monastery, bedroom on a mezzanine level with mirrors on the ceiling, and we're gonna skip past that really quickly. Weird, but you know, yeah, nice bathroom tiles, kitchen, so on and so forth. But then, oh wait, what's that? It's a hatch. A hatch to where, I hear you cry? Well, let's have a look.
That looks like it goes down pretty deep.
Okay, so he goes down in there and what does he see? Let's have some still images for you so you can get the whole picture because the video is pretty freaky and bumpy. Okay, I'm saying that is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, but at the same time, adds a lot of value on the rent, right? Imagine all the storage in that murder bunker. Hurrah! Coming into number 4, we have the tape room. Redditor Lumberjack went pretty viral with global news articles written about their creepy findings, which they posted onto the social media site. So it all went down in May 2014 when the Redditor posted images of a mysterious panel in the wall. Here it is. Okay, so obviously he opened up the panel. He then went on through a whole adventure through a carpeted crawl space in which he found a briefcase containing jewelry and a selection of foreign currencies. The worst discovery, however, was a box of videotapes labelled from 94 to 95. One of the tapes was inscribed with "No, no, no, no" on it, which doesn't sound great. We don't actually know what's on it though, the Redditor didn't tell us. They also found a note that read, "Save yourself." Not looking so good. Lumberjack said that they were asked to delete the post by a local sheriff who was investigating a murder. Coming into number 3, we have the walled up room. There is a Reddit thread on No Sleep called "Never buy a house with a walled up room." And do you know what? Like, I guess don't. I think that's good advice. Don't do it. Why? Because of the old act of incurement, which is the act of bricking someone alive in a room until they die and then just leaving them there. Good, joyous. There have been so many instances of people tearing down false walls and finding bodies. In July 2013, the hidden skeleton of a woman who'd been missing for 28 years was discovered when contractors found a false wall in the basement of her old home. Another body was described as being skeletonized with the hands tied with a rope. Murder. Murder! It seems that also the bishop who haunts the infamous Borley Rectory in England was incurred. Bricked in a wall. He now throws bricks at passers-by and like, I kinda get it. Coming into number 2, we have the secret bunker of Denver Airport. There are a lot of rumors and legends that Denver Airport in Colorado is sitting on the top of a secret satanic lair. Hints and clues come from a hellish-looking blue horse with glowing red eyes. What is this horse? Oh, it's only the Egyptian god of death. Good! Great. Thanks, Denver. Also, the sculpture fell on its creator who later died as a result of his injuries, so I'm not feeling good about it. There are also murals inside the building that look kinda swastika-esque, and also there are an uncomfortable number of triangles. The real crux of the conspiracy is that the airport is just so big. Like, why? Not all of that space is being used. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura thinks that Denver Airport sits above a giant apocalypse bunker for government officials. But the majority of conspiracists think that the underground labyrinth is used as a secret meeting spot for Satanists or the Illuminati. Denver, what is going on? Finally, coming into number 1, we have the hidden chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Most of you watching will have heard of the Curse of the Pharaohs. When King Tutankhamun's tomb was opened up in 1922, the legendary Curse of the Pharaohs was a main topic of conversation and continues to be an enduring legend. Basically, the archaeological discovery was dogged by a number of untimely and mysterious deaths from those involved in the excavation. This led many to believe that Egyptian curses are pretty real. Okay, so with that in mind, what if I tell you a whole new room has been discovered in the Great Pyramid of Giza? The Heritage Innovation Preservation Project has been working with Cairo University and the Egyptian government to scan the Great Pyramids. Yes, scan. This is super hi-fi modern day tech stuff. Scanning! In 2017, the pyramid housing the tomb of the great pharaoh Khufu showed a mysterious and spooky void when it was scanned. Khufu. What a name! Khufu! I wish my name was Khufu. Built Built in 2560 BC, this weird void has been locked away and secret for over 4,000 years. Now the void stretches for at least 30 meters above the Grand Gallery, an ascending corridor that links the Queen's Chamber to the King's Chamber in the heart of the pyramid. A void in the heart? I don't like the sound of this. I would not want to be the one who goes in to investigate this scary hidden room because, well, curse me once, shame on you, but curse me twice, honestly, shame on me. Humans, honestly, we just need to leave things alone. Leave them to the Egyptian gods. Let them have their business.